Treksploration.
Hello, Trek Explorers, and welcome to Treksploration. I'm Albie.
And I'm Chris.
He is Crispy. I am Cool Ranch, and both of our drips got Riz, and we're talking about Section 31 today. How you doing, Chris?
I'm very confused, but I'm going to take what you just said as a compliment.
Yeah, always. All
Okay,
compliments.
Cool. My drip is Riz. You hear that, everybody?
Yes.
My drip is Riz.
100%. Hunted. Keep it hunted. Keep it a buck. Star Trek's been around for what, 58 years now?
A million years and counting.
So it's got to kind of change with the times. So I figure we got to change with the times too, and kind of understand what the young kids like Philippa Giorgio are talking about.
Yeah, she is. Yeah, she is. She got her finger on the pulse of everything that's hip, especially in the outskirts of the Alpha Quadrants. That much we know. That much they've shown us. So,
yes. All right, today we are talking about Star Trek Section 31, the movie.
The movie.
Original air date January 24th, 2025. Holy crap, that's the future. That's 10 years past the future. How does that happen?
Yeah, don't
the
ask
future's
me.
2015 as far as I know.
I mean, it happened much more organically than this film did, so.
All right. Story by Bo Yeon Kim and Erica, I should practice these ahead of time. Lippoldit? Lipoldi?
I gotta call it up now. I don't know what you're saying here. I have
Erica
Bo Young Kim and Erica Lippold.
Okay, that's French, I think. Screenplay by Craig Sweeney and directed by Olatunde Asunanami. I like him.
We can never say his name right.
No, I have to learn it because he's prolific in Star Trek lately. And
Olatunde Asunsanmi.
Yeah, I like that.
Asunsanmi.
Great guy. I love seeing his interviews. He's a really cool dude. And he, you got your two swirlies in there. Did you notice those?
Oh no, you know what? I probably did at the time.
I was like, oh, Chris is going to see that one. So yeah, I think he spun at 360 twice, but only twice. Today in chat we have the omnipotent Willard.
Yes, I see Willard. I see Jamie is in the chat as well. Hi Jamie. Hi Willard.
Hi Jamie. It's like romper room around here.
How's it going?
All right, we have a lot to do. If you're first time joining us, I'm Albie, he's Chris, and we're talking about Star Trek. That's what we do, and we're talking about the movie Section 31 now. And I think before we do our recap, let's do our first impressions, and we'll save our tangents till later, until we suck them in, the new people.
Right.
We'll get new people all the time. New people all the time. So, Chris, I'll ask you first, because I don't want to influence you. First impressions, first thoughts about Section 31, the movie?
The movie? I gotta tell you, it's like everybody who watches Treksploration or listens to Treksploration knows how much I went in dreading this film. Knows that I'm not a huge fan of Michelle Yeoh in general, especially not a fan of her work in Star Trek. So I was just the exact wrong person for this film. And I gotta say, it wasn't as screamingly terrible as I feared. However, I saw problems with it. And Michelle Yeoh, if you can say that she acted all right, this is probably the best performance I've seen her give in Star Trek. Because she seemed like she actually knew what she was saying instead of just reading it phonetically off of a cue card. So I think that I was pleasantly surprised by that aspect as well. How about you, Albie?
I'm happy to hear you say that. I think I had the same reaction the first time Rennie watched it and I watched it. It's a lot.
Oh,
it's a lot all at once.
Woohoo.
And I'm 40 odd years old, and she's what, 12 odd years old. I don't know if it works that way. But it was even a lot for her. But it was a lot, and I went into it dreading watching it because I just feared it was going to be a train wreck because the reviews started coming out a few days ahead of time for those of us who have screeners and stuff. But I tried to stay far away from them, but thumbnail after thumbnail was just like negative, and I was like, oh. Yeah. So I went in pretty disappointed, but I still kept an open mind. And I got to say, for me, the third time's the charm. When I watched it the third time, I think I was fully on board and I enjoyed it even more. And I watch it 5 times total now.
Oh my gosh. Okay. All right. That's
Got to do my job. My job's talking Trek.
I guess.
We're like the guys in Car Talk, but we're not fixing transmissions. We're talking about Star Trek.
You're gonna carry this show then, because I watched that one time about a week ago.
Oh no! Okay,
so that was enough. That was enough. I remembered it. I remembered.
Luckily, you got a great memory.
Yeah,
Luckily, you got a great memory.
And yeah, I was kind of under the weather these last couple of weeks.
Yeah,
so, like getting through it the first time was a chore. It took me 3 times. So if you want to count that, it took me about 3 times to finally sit down and be able to get through it without like passing out, because I don't know if you know this. The last thing we did was the captain's table with Captain Charles.
Yes.
What did we end?
Yes.
We ended at about 1:30 a.m., 2 a.m.
Something like that. And that was our last thing. And that was a pre-tape.
And that was a pre-tape. So so we weren't live per se, but I guess you can get that over on the Patreon site, correct? Or is that on the YouTube
no,
channel
it's free. It's free for everybody on YouTube also.
Okay, awesome. So you can watch that, but note that when we say goodbye and we sign off, what I did was I shut down my computer. I went into my bedroom. I crawled into bed with the most splitting headache I've had in years. I had chills. I could not get warm. And then I started having an allergic reaction to something I ate earlier that night. So I woke up on Saturday morning completely covered in like a rash, completely sick, completely down. And I didn't come to until about Sunday evening sometime. And I still felt like crap all week. So when it was time to sit down and watch this, I was a week out from that bout of sickness, but I was still just out of it, man. It took me forever to get over this thing. So I can readily say that maybe it was part me, but I don't know. I just could not keep my focus on it because it was just too much. And like it was like it was hitting my head like a cue ball. My head was like a cue ball. And then, or what's the video game with the ball, Galaga, right? And like you shoot the stuff and like all the rockets go. It's almost like a brick breaker kind of thing.
Yeah,
That's what like all the stuff that it was throwing at me. The sensory overload just kept on bouncing off my head, like my head was the brick that they were trying to break. And I couldn't do it. And then I had a moment of lucidity and I finally got through it. But I don't know that I could get through it again. So
it gets better. It gets better the more times you watch it.
I hope you had a better week than I did, is what I'm saying.
I did, but I was lonely because you're my only friend. That's not my daughter. And you weren't doing so good, so I had no one to talk to really. So
yeah, no, I was completely incommunicado for the most part. I was just when I didn't have to communicate, I was just on the couch.
Yeah, like day 5, I was like, "Is it me?"
It's always you. Never wonder.
The splitting headache. The splitting headache was probably me. I have a lot to say about that, and I think it stems from this didn't start out as a movie, and I don't think it finished as a movie, and I think they were wrong to use the term movie, but we'll dig into that more. We got some messages from the Omnipotent Willard.
Hi, Willard.
The Omnipotent Willard. He says, well, I was wrong. Chris has a better opinion than I did. Wow.
It's probably marginally better, Willard. I'm just saying that it wasn't the crap fest completely that I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be well nigh unwatchable, and I thought it was marginally watchable. So, I
wonder if our lowered expectations helped.
Lowered expectations.
I'm still looking for that app because I need to meet somebody. Willard says, maybe I need to watch it 5 times to like it.
No, I don't think so.
I'm telling you, it gets better every time. Because I think it's like if you read a book that you don't understand and like Brief History of Time. I'm not comparing it to Brief History of Time because obviously they're opposites probably. But the more you read it, the more you understand it. So I think the more I watched it, the more I understood what they were trying to go for, if that makes sense. But
yeah, I caught that all on the first try.
Yeah, you're more intelligent than I.
Okay, I don't think so. I think that you purposely do that. I think
we're differently intelligent. How about that? We're differently intelligent.
We'll agree to be differently intelligent. I like that.
All right. And before we, in case you haven't seen Section 31, just know we are going to spoil it.
Spoil the crap out of it.
So the beginning part of that is talking about our episode synopsis.
Right.
So Chris, say again?
I said we gave them all a week to watch it.
That's true. We gave you some time. It was Chris's anniversary and his illness.
Oh,
That
that
gave you
too.
the
Yeah,
time
I
to
did
watch
have
it.
my anniversary somewhere in there. So I had some competing obligations as well.
Yeah,
So
that's okay. Next time they need to schedule the movie better.
you know what just
Right?
freaking struck me? You're
What?
not going to believe this. Guess which anniversary this was for me?
The 31st.
Yes, 31.
It was planned in the stars.
You'd think that that would do something to boost the estimation of this film in my mind, but or boost my
I'm
estimation of this film. I knew I would get that sentence out of it, but no,
I'm
it just
I'm
struck
telling
me at
you,
this moment. Oh my god, it was my 31st anniversary, and that's when Section 31 came out.
by the third time you watch it, you're gonna love this thing. Chris is gonna do the episode synopsis for Star Trek Section 31, the movie.
And listen,
Original air date
Linda.
January 24th, 2025. Story by Bo Ying Kim and Erica Lapolte. Screenplay by Greg Sweeney and directed by Olatunde Asunami.
Well, thank you. Now we've done that twice, so we've really established that.
Yes, I want to
And
give everybody their credit. There was a lot of people involved.
listen, Linda writes, I still haven't watched it. Maybe this weekend. Linda, I'm going to spoil the crap out of it right now with the synopsis. So close your ears. La la la, not listening.
There's no real. Is there a spoiler that would ruin watching it? I don't think so.
Well, why don't I read it? Then you can tell me.
There we go.
We open on a backwater planet of the Terran Empire. Young Philippa Georgiou has come home from the trials to pick a new emperor because I guess that's how the line of succession in a ruthless dictatorship works, with a fair and open contest to see who can be the most inhuman. Georgiou cinches the top spot by passing the last test and murdering her entire family. And if you're using this film to try and turn me around on Georgiou, you're not getting off to a very good start. But we need this backstory to show that Georgiou is actually in love with San, her chief competitor for the throne, whom she promptly maims with a hot sword. Cut to the space station / nightclub Baram, somewhere in the Alpha Quadrant, just north of the Badlands outside of Federation space, sort of close to Cardassia. Georgiou is the grande dame of the station, with a finger on all of its goings-on. So it's no wonder that when a character named Alok approaches her to try and sell contraband, she immediately clocks him as a Section 31 agent, and then conveniently introduces his entire team of lovable misfits for the benefit of the audience. In addition to Team Mastermind Alok, a refugee from the eugenics wars of the 20th century, there's Quasi, a cameloid shapeshifter a la Star Trek VI, The Undiscovered Country. Zeph, a comical meathead in a full-body mech suit. Starfleet liaison Rachel Garrett. Mel, an irresistible Deltan female. And Fuzz, a microscopic life form who has a Vulcan meat suit a la Meat Dave. Here's the mission. This dude, Data No, is headed to Baram to sell a very dangerous bio superweapon. Gotta swallow there. Super weapon, and the Section 31 team is there to stop him. They can really use Georgiou's help, and she agrees because, plot, and discovers that No is from her own mirror universe, and that he is in possession of the Godsend, a doomsday weapon that Georgiou herself designed as a last resort if she was ever out of options to be a monster. It can destroy life on every planet in the quadrant. Lots of fighting over the weapon ensues, and we discover that No is from the mirror universe and that he came in through a stable gate opened in an ion storm, and he is preparing the prime universe for an invasion by the Terran Empire, which is now run by San, Georgiou's erstwhile love. And this is where I stopped taking notes because what in the hell are we watching? Needless to say, many complications and double crosses ensue as our ragtag band of lovable S-31 agents try to stop the Godsend from destroying the Federation. San is, of course, behind it all. Georgiou has a moment of remorse when she eventually confronts San and then kills him. And then she and Alok use the Godsend to collapse the Ion Gate and secure the Federation from mirror universe machinations. Now, let's all have a great time at the space nightclub and joke about what an inhuman, genocidal, irredeemable monster Georgiou is. The end? God, I hope so.
That was great. That was great. So it starts off with the Hunger Games, basically, right?
I suppose. I mean, that threw me for a loop right there.
That's one thing. When Rennie and I were watching it, like there was a lot of, let's say, homages or influences in this story, and we would like shout them out, and like at the same exact time, like we would look at each other and say it. It was pretty cool. So many, like so many. I think I joked earlier about the doll from Planet of the Apes that says "Mama," at the end with the batteries that explode. Just so many different things. But okay, so here's my thought. Thank you for that episode synopsis. That was great.
That was a film synopsis, my good sir.
What?
That was a film synopsis, not an episode
It was
synopsis.
okay. This was a season of television, compressed and edited down to a 90-minute movie. This was not a Star Trek movie. I think that's why everybody's crapping on it so much, because you go in and you're expecting a Star Trek movie, and to have a Star Trek movie, I think you have to earn it. With 7 seasons of television before it, so things mean something. And even when we're watching this, it has almost like episode titles 3 or 4 times through the movie. And it just seems like the reason why there's so much is because it's a season-long arc, and they just hacked it up to make it fit in 90 minutes. So, like, I feel like if it was given the breadth of like the 10 episodes to tell this story, it would be much more appreciated. But the fact that they took those 10 episodes and put them into an hour and a half, I also appreciate it, because it didn't, imagine if we saw a season of Disco in an hour and a half and didn't have to suffer through all of it. But so like I'm conflicted, but I think that's why it is what it is. So I think instead of taking all the ideas they had, picking the best and making a movie out of it, they took all the ideas they had and just compressed it all. Because it was just like, it was like watching a serial put together, like 15-minute episodes back to back to back to back to back to back. What do you think?
I think that I don't know if they did that, then they must have really oversimplified it, because as I mentioned just 10 minutes ago, I was half dead when I watched this, and I was able to write that synopsis from memory. So, I mean, aside from the names and stuff, I had to look up the characters' names, but I mean, so it wasn't all that, it was a lot, and it was frenetic, and it was fast, but in the end, the plot was so by the numbers, simple: chase, reprieve, chase, let's rest, chase, character moment. It was just mainly sound and fury signifying nothing. I know I use that term quite a bit, but I like William Faulkner. I'm sorry. I really think that if this had been a season of television, or even maybe a 6-episode arc, it would have been even more interminable than it already was.
Okay.
Because what they're trying to do is make you live with these characters and have you love them all in different ways, because they're kind of goofy, they're kind of silly. They wanted it to have a Guardians of the Galaxy feel. Mm-hmm. The issue with Guardians of the Galaxy is that it's, I think, for me, in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, a game of diminishing returns. It was fresh and funny and amazing, the first Guardians movie. It was just like a breath of fresh air in a universe that was already kind of gonzo, bat guano crazy. Is bat guano redundant? I think it might be. But anyway, so it was just like this thing that arrested you and made you laugh and made you love it. And then the second one, a little bit tired. It's already playing on a lot of the same tropes. And by the third one, in Infinity Wars, the shtick is pretty much worn out. It's just old. And now here we are, 5 years after the last appearance of the Guardians in cinema, with this trying to do what the first Guardians movie did 10 years ago. And it's already played. It's already something that we've been there, done that. Did we need this for Star Trek? So do you think having a season, like a full season to flesh these characters out, would have made it any better? Because I think it's already a played premise that is going on too long just out the gate.
See, the Guardians thing, I think the problem with that is anytime there's something new and it's good, it's not new the second time and it's not new the third time.
Mhm.
So that makes it difficult. I think a lot of the story that they were trying to tell in Section 31 suffers from changing it to a movie or a long trek. I think some people are calling it a long trek, versus the season, how the story was put out. Because there's so many times in the movie where, like, it's like they want you to feel a loss if somebody dies or if something
Mhm.
happens or if there's a betrayal. And there's definitely not one cohesive story like that would be for a film. It's definitely mini stories. Like you have the who done it and you have the, end of the quadrant and you have all different things in the introduction and the Mission Impossible and
Mhm.
the Ocean's 11, everything. And it's like it has so many different identities that it's trying to go for, which makes sense in a season if you're doing something where you're changing the story up every episode. But when you put all those stories together, it's just like when you put too many colors of paint together and it all just ends up being like a puke brown instead
Puke
of
brown, yes.
instead of painting a canvas with beautiful colors, it just puke brown. The whole canvas is puke brown.
I
I'm
think
not
that's
saying that
gonna
the
go.
movie's puke
It's gonna
brown,
go to movie
but
posters somewhere, right? It'll go on the DVD release. Star Trek's puke brown outing. Albie Burge.
Albie Burge. Um, and I feel bad because so many people work so hard on this, and so many people are crapping on it. But I think it's better than the reaction it's getting, and it's difficult because it took me, I'd say, probably I don't know, it would be the second episode of this movie. Like where they're all walking in that trailer shot when they're walking out of the cave right before they talk on the planet where all the fire cannons are.
Hmm.
That's when I finally started going, okay, it's not as bad as I anticipated. I think I'm enjoying myself. I'm not quite sure.
No, well, but that's just that's a trope in itself. Just like the group shot with the explosions in the background, walking towards the camera in slow motion,
Mm-hmm.
with Fleetwood Mac playing in the back. Oh wait, no, that was Guardians. You see what I'm saying? It's like we've seen it. We've seen it a dozen times. Those hero shots. I think they even made a one of the few funny things that I think Will Ferrell did was an SNL video where it's like cool guys walk away from explosions or cool guys don't look at explosions, and you just have like these action heroes walking in slow motion with big
Mm-hmm.
explosions behind them and they're completely non-phased by it, you know?
Yeah, you can't look. You got to be
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. So I feel like that is just shorthand for, hey, dumb action movie that will
Mm-hmm.
be broadly palatable to someone. You don't need to know Star Trek. This isn't really Star Trek, even though it says Star Trek in the title. And
Mm-hmm.
I feel like at least they had the respect for the franchise to put Star Trek in, as opposed to like the first couple of seasons of Enterprise where they didn't have Star Trek in the title. And quite frankly, I read why they kept Star Trek out of the Enterprise title anyway. The reasoning that Rick Berman gave, or maybe it was Brandon, um,
Berman, Braga, Berman.
and it actually made much more sense in context of Enterprise and where it took place in the timeline, because they were saying, yeah, but this isn't Star Trek. You know, all that stuff you know from Star Trek, they haven't figured it out yet. So, and
So
to
they're not
me,
trekking through the stars. They're
not yet.
learning to
They're
get
they're
there.
yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
they're stumbling through the
Okay.
Zindi.
I get that. I get that.
So I'll buy that, maybe because I have a soft spot for Enterprise, and maybe that's just his retcon BS, because they really did want to reach a broader audience and they felt that Star Trek was a detriment to that.
Mm.
At least here they call it Star Trek because, quite frankly, who else is going to be watching this besides Star Trek fans?
Mm.
So
Mm.
I think it's always a game of diminishing returns if you try to take something that's in a franchise and then somehow distance it from that franchise so you get a quote average viewer coming in. I mean, I think that'll only happen once in a blue moon, and we already saw it with Star Trek 4. That was the sort of general audience Star Trek.
I think only people you might get that aren't Trek fans that'll click on this is people that like Michelle Yeoh, and she's the main poster, and you're like, maybe I'll check it out. But
Michelle Yeoh, correct me if I'm wrong, has a long pedigree of
mhm.
action films, right?
Yeah, I think Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, and then after that, so many, and then she's good in everything.
Well, that's debatable.
My opinion, yeah, my opinion. I
Mm.
like her. To me, she's like a dom mommy. I don't know. She's got something about her.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, she's
Okay.
got some.
Okay. A lot of
She's
things
got
are
something
slopping
about
into
her that
place here.
makes you want to listen to her. I'm just saying.
Okay. Okay.
So what if, okay, we view this as, because, it's basically a pilot, right?
So yeah, I wanted
Even
you
though
to
they're not going for it to be a pilot. But
like.
what do you, if this was a pilot, how would you feel about it?
I don't think I would watch it because obviously if it has the name Star Trek on it, I'm gonna watch
We
it.
have
I
to.
mean, we
Yeah,
have
we
to.
have to.
We
We
have to.
have
And as
to.
a Star Trek fan, even if I wasn't doing the show, so I can't be a hypocrite and say that I wouldn't watch it because it's Star Trek. I'm
Right.
gonna
Right.
watch it because I want to keep up with the universe. I want to know how they do what they do and if it connects with anything or what. And that's the same problem that most people have with all of the new Trek anyway. So, I mean, you're going to watch it sometimes in spite of yourself. And that's just the way it is. So, I'm not going to
Mhm.
sit here and say, no, I wouldn't watch it. Of course, I'd watch the entire series and I'd probably bemoan and wail and just be generally miserable for most of it. Um, I want to know why you think that this was a whole season. This really did feel like a pilot episode to me, maybe with a more action oriented ending thrown on. I think that they took what would have been just one episode and condensed a lot of the character work into these snippy, snappy things so that they could put a ton of action in it. Like that phase fight went on for about 75 minutes, I think.
The next phase fight.
Right, the next phase fight. And it was just like, I know that they're going to package this now as an action film. I don't think that what we saw here could have been sustained over a season. I really think that this was meant to be the entry point into a longer season, maybe with 2 or 3 episode arcs. You would hope that would somehow be unified at the end, um, because you got to think that it's going to be a caper of the week type show,
Mhm.
especially with the way it ended. So I feel like they left the door open for sequels to this if they wanted to, but that was just
Oh
baked in
yeah.
from the beginning because it was going to be a show. So
Well,
I
yeah.
I don't think this
When
was a season condensed. I think this was just a general pilot that was repackaged as a film.
then mission not accomplished, job poorly done, because there's way too much going on and way too many stories in it. And it, to me, it just seemed like uh 20-minute episodes, or the best of each episode strung together from a way bigger story. Only because, like, the characters that die in the film, you're supposed to care about them, but you can't 8 minutes after you met them. And I think they cut so much out of the season. And I don't know, but I think they wrote a season. I don't think they wrote it as a movie. Maybe
Okay.
there's somewhere to find it out, but it seems like they cut so much out, but they left the story beats in, but just like went through them on fast forward, and they didn't cut out any of the fight scenes because, of course, they have Michelle Yeoh, which is most famous besides her acting skills, is her action skills and her fighting skills. So I think they left all those in. But for me, watching it at home, I really felt like it was like they went into it to. I'm sure this isn't what happened, but it felt like it. They went into it filming 10 episodes, 8 episodes, 6 episodes, and they filmed it all out of order. And after the first, like, whatever month or so of filming, they like called in. They said, "Put together what you got."
I don't
I don't
know. I don't know about that. I think that this was much more directed as a film once they knew and
know. Okay.
they could edit
Okay.
the script. Let's put it this way. I don't see it as slapdash as that. I feel like there
Okay.
was a narrative progression. I felt like the plot, as simplistic as it was, hung together fine. I mean, it was very frenetic, but I don't think that it was disjointed. And
Okay.
that's kind of, I guess maybe that's splitting hairs, but it is a distinction
Mhm.
in my mind. Things can be frenetic, but still have a through line. Like it wasn't like nonlinear. It wasn't all over the place like a mess story wise. I felt like they went from A to B to C to D. Fairly competently because it was stock plot, stock plot, stock plot. So you didn't really have to reinvent many wheels. You just had to find a way to have the gears mesh a little bit. So,
Mhm.
yeah. Um, we've been talking so much about the mechanics of this and the production and all of that. What did you think of the characters? And I guess maybe for me, the biggest question is we all know how I feel about Giorgio.
Right.
And if you don't know, if this is the first time you're seeing us because you're on the QLP Facebook page or whatever. I don't like Giorgio. I think the character is irredeemable. Maybe the worst character to come through into Star Trek since Beckett Mariner, and maybe the worst Star Trek character of all time. At least Beckett's redeemable. And they keep leaning into the fact that she is this horrible genocidal monster. She's even eating an eyeball
Yeah, that's
in
pretty messed
this.
up.
So it's just like, but yet you want me to root for her. You want me to be on her side. So the real heavy lift for this film was to make Giorgio a sympathetic character. And I got to give it to them. They had the guts to not pull any punches in the beginning with her killing her family to show you what an irredeemable monster she is. But then as the film goes on, we're supposed to think that she has remorse because she had this love story. Or what did you think of the character arc of Giorgio? And I know I talk about it a lot, but do you feel Giorgio is a redeemable character? Let's just start from the baseline. Like where is she in your head, and then what does this movie do to alter that, if it does alter that?
Philippa Giorgio is unapologetically evil, I think. But with the origin story that they tell, and I think it was Miko Martinu, sorry, I'm saying that wrong, who played young Philippa Giorgio. That little prologue, I enjoyed it because um, it seems like she was forced into it, and she had hopes and dreams of being with San and running away together and not doing this. But again, put in that like Hunger Games situation to where or maybe Highlander, where there could be only one and you have to survive. So you either have to let them kill you or let them burn down your village, like they did with San. They burned down his village because he couldn't kill his family, or you have to do what you have to do to survive. And I feel like it portrayed her, yes, as evil, and yes, um, she did horrible things, but I think it was a survival thing. So I think even though they didn't pull any punches, I think they let you know that she didn't set out to be evil. She didn't set out to do evil things. She was kind of like just trying to get to the next day, and she did what she had to do.
But okay, so are these trials for, so this big brings up a much bigger story point.
Mm-hmm.
These trials to become emperor, which is on the face of it ludicrous. That's just
Mm-hmm.
so silly.
Stupid.
That's not how dictatorships propagate themselves. But anyway,
No, and if it did,
yeah. So so was she just conscripted at random, saying fight or die, win or die, or did she volunteer? Because you got to figure, especially in a Terran Empire where your life is probably crap unless you're in power,
mm-hmm.
you know, you would have multiple people flocking to these open trials to be the new dictator. Again, I still can't wrap my mind around just that concept because it's so dumb. But
I don't think they said, but my feeling
no, they didn't
was
say.
like
They didn't say.
people were like stolen out of villages and put into this competition, and it's either like you survive or you die.
See,
And if you survive to the end, like Squid Games, you win.
Maybe had they, outlined the circumstance under which she was in this contest, did she do it of her own volition? Or was she just who was picked from that village in that region of the empire, forced to go and represent? That changes everything, because if she was just a lovable, humble shoeshine girl, and then they were like, you're in the Hunger Games now, step
Right.
up, then maybe it makes her marginally more sympathetic because it wasn't her choice. But with the way
That's
she
what I felt.
relishes, okay. And I'm thinking that it's anyone who wants to volunteer, because there'll still be no shortage
Could
of
be.
candidates, and the people who do volunteer will likely be better candidates anyway because they want to be in power, and
Right.
they will be as ruthless as they need to be because that is their goal. So I see it opposite. I see it that she volunteered because she's just an evil person.
Okay.
So,
And that might be a thing, like if it was going to be a series where we'd have more flashbacks, because the actress who played young Philippa Giorgio, I think she did a wonderful job, and she was great.
She was good. Yeah, she was real good.
Yeah, she was great. So I would like to see more of her going forward if they had, or if they do a season, like, I mean, that's on the table, but I don't think after the action it got so far that's going to happen. But maybe that's something that they would flash back again and show you how she got into it or something. So maybe they left that door open.
Yeah, maybe.
But for me, it kind of explained how a person got to that point. That being said, when she was knighted empress, she had a choice. She could have killed him. She could have killed the lady that was in charge, Wonder Woman's mom or whatever, who was in charge of this whole competition. If she was the emperor, she could have done away with everything, and her and San could have ruled in peace and brought prosperity and peace to the universe, but she didn't. And I think San mentions that later on.
I think he does too. From this was the problem I had with their scenes. I know that they wanted to give you a more human side of Philippa.
Yeah.
So the cheapest, quickest, easiest way to do that is to introduce a tragic love interest. But at the same time, like you said, if she's emperor, she can do whatever the hell she wants. So
Right.
she says to this guy, kill all of them, then kill yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And then to the pilot, take us to the palace and get a doctor here and cure my parents.
Mm-hmm.
This is the way I'm going to rule now. If her power was absolute, why didn't she use her powers for good? Mm-hmm. Oh, because of what? Because of what trick? She's got no limit to what she can do. She can murder populations. She can coerce anybody to do anything any way that she wants. I don't know if maybe we're giving her too much credit for being able to think outside of the cultural norms that she was raised in. And maybe it just never occurred to her because no one's ever done it before. I mean,
Terran Empire.
It took Kirk.
Even Spock needed convincing,
a while
right?
to convince Spock.
Yeah,
because they needed to learn to think in a different way, and there was no Kirk giving her the Kirk fu.
Yeah, and you got to remember at this point she's probably numb to everything she's had to do to get to this point, and also in a state of shock of what she just did to her family.
I guess. And again, they made it so that she had no choice but to kill her family. It's like it's the trolley problem: either kill your family or kill the entire village.
Yep.
So what do you choose? And it's just like, again, to me, that's kind of cheap because it ultimately takes. I guess it gives it a wrinkle. It gives it a nuance. And I don't want nuance because, again, I don't want to be forced into thinking that there is some way in which this character is sympathetic.
Well, all that being said, I think the writers were challenged with, okay, this is the person that is like not supposed to be liked and the most evil person that we have in this era. But she won an Oscar and she wants to do a movie with us and a series. And okay, how do we make this character sympathetic? So I think the people who wrote this stuff did the best job they could as setting her up as a sympathetic evil character.
Yeah, and that again, to me, that's an impossible path to walk,
right?
Especially with the way that they insist on writing her. You said right up top that she is unapologetically evil.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're going to have this character that will never show any signs of remorse or responsibility, taking responsibility for the horrible acts that she's done, or even it just affecting her in any way outside of someone that she was, quote, in love with, because it's just a cheap emotional string to pull. Why do they always insist on going back to square one with her? It reminds me of the scene in Disco when they're in the 59th century. And,
time to drink.
Yeah, time to drink. And Hugh was talking to her about some problems that she's having. And I think it's the beginning of her being like out of phase with time because the divergence points between the two universes is now so far apart that she can't survive. I guess because her harmonic sync is off or whatever. And Hugh is
sounds as good as anything else.
Yeah, why not? Because reasons. Hugh is talking to her, and he says something to her that's just like straightforward. And she's like, "I will have your children killed," and that's supposed to be a joke. This is Star Trek. I mean, and she's literally threatening, and this is someone who has killed the genocidal maniac, and they're just being flip with these unspeakable threats. And this movie leans into that again. It's like they are somehow incapable of having this character turn a page because that's who they want. They want this murderous empress because it's edgy maybe but so anytime they go towards some kind of redemption arc, they steer her right back into being an unapologetic monster. And they even make a joke of it at the end of this. Like, she's like, duh, watch your backs. I might kill you at any moment. How is this Star Trek?
Yeah, that brings up a question I got for you at the end. Don't
don't jump the gun.
don't forget for me to.
Oh yes, I have here. Albie asks Chris important question.
It's important.
Okay.
I think a lot of it has to do with they stunt casted Michelle Yeoh for the captain of the Shinzu, was it?
Shenzhou.
Yeah. And they killed her off, but she didn't want to be killed off. She wanted to come back, and I think she said this on a couple of different talk shows. She's been making the talk show rounds before the movie and a little bit after, which was awesome to see her do different interviews. But I think that what they did to bring her back was they pulled her from the mirror universe, and instead of an alternate universe, so they had to make her the opposite of who she was, and maybe that's they kind of got stuck with it.
Yeah, but here's the thing. So you got lemons make lemonade. You have someone who I'm in the minority who doesn't think she's a very good actress, but Michelle Yeoh is lauded for her ability to act. I mean, she has awards, multiple awards.
And I agree with them for some reason.
So you have that. You have someone of that caliber, yet you keep on giving her the same stupid shtick because you want her to be a zinger machine. You want her everything to be quippy and catty and one-liney, and then she saunters off. Why not give the character an actual arc where she starts out as this irredeemable monster and then comes more in center and then is completely devastated by who she was, and actually make it into an interesting story about change and growth? And, oh, isn't that the entire reason fiction exists, to show you that people can change? It's all about character and character arcs and people being in one place on page 1 and being in a different place on page 101. But they just cannot abide even the idea of changing the baseline for Giorgio.
I think they could, and I think they started it off with the prologue in this. And I think if it went to series, I think, at least in my heart, I feel like we would see eventually that, like, those moments that Janeway had, maybe in her quarters alone or in her ready room alone, where she broke down and like really stuff affected her. I think we'd see more vulnerable times in the future when she's by herself, if that was happening. But maybe I'm just trying to read into it to give her more credit as a character than she deserves.
We had 3 seasons of Disco to do that.
They couldn't do it on Disco because the whole point of Disco, Take a Drink, was pissing people off that were watching the show.
I disagree with that. I don't think that's why anybody puts on a show. I just think that, again, they have her in this box, and that's where they like her, and that's where they're going to keep her.
I think they painted themselves into a corner with Giorgio, and they're trying to, they would eventually get to where it is a story arc, and we would see a little bit of redemption, maybe. But I don't know if it's going to go forward, but if it was, I would like to see that.
You talk about them painting themselves into a corner as if it was an inevitable thing. These are all choices that they made. I mean, scripts go through
Disco.
how many revisions?
Disco.
Many revisions? Yeah, you can't just say disco and like it's waving the magic wand of badness. So, like, that's honestly, that's just another bullshit excuse because disco. No, it's just they had choices and they made the wrong choices. And I don't think that it was because they wanted to piss people off.
Do you think they did better in Section 31 with Giorgio than they did in Disco?
I think Michelle Yeoh did better in Section 31 with Giorgio. I think that the writing was largely the same, but she somehow sells it just a little bit more in this one. So if there was ever a redeemable Giorgio, I guess this is the first bare glimmer of it. And so I guess the answer to your question is they did it better in Section 31.
Okay. And this is only the first episode. It's not a movie. It's not a movie. So that's just like the prologue and talking about Giorgio. I mean, we haven't even gotten to the Ocean's 31 thing or anything like that yet. Do we got any thing to do before we continue? Or would you
No, I
like to
think
save that for later on?
so. What are we saving? The some
Like where
feedback.
people can find us and all
Oh,
that
sure. Why don't we
jazz.
do that? We never did that up top like we usually do.
No, we're just so excited about Section 31, the movie.
The movie. So yeah, I mean, we've been talking a lot about this, but we want to know what you guys out there in TV land think about all of this. Is it Star Trek? Is Giorgio redeemable? Let us know. You can comment right here on our YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/@Treksploration. If you happen to be listening on a podcast feed, come see us on the YouTube channel. We try to make this place our hub of fan discussion and of listener feedback. You can also go to our Patreon site. That's patreon.com/Treksploration. You can find us on Instagram at instagram.com/Treksploration Pod. I guess that's at Treksploration Pod.
Probably.
You can at Treksploration.bluesky.social us. Find us on Blue Sky. You can TikTok where
Blue
we're doing the floss
skies
dance. Is the floss
smiling at
dance
me.
still a thing on TikTok? I don't know.
Yeah, we got to do the dancing so I
Right?
can
The
edit it
TikTok
together for
dancing.
the
There
TikTok.
we go. We'll do the
Yeah.
dance. So we got the TikTok dance going here. You can email us treksplorationpod@gmail.com. You can buy us a coffee and support the show there at buymeacoffee.com/Treksploration. And you can always send us anything your little heart desires to the P.O. Box. That's P.O. Box 542, Bayport, New York 11705. And speaking of things coming to the P.O. Box, I want to thank the omnipotent Willard once again.
The
for sending
omnipotent
us-
Willard.
For sending us, if you didn't see the captain's table, he sent us coffee. He sent us coffee and some coffee
Yes.
mugs. So that's something that you can do, like send that kind of stuff to the P.O. Box.
Something
we
that
want
is
to-
much more valuable now. So don't invest in gold, invest in coffee, I guess.
Invest in
right?
coffee. There's
The
not
omnipotent
coffee
Willard proves
in that
his
nebula.
omnipotence. He knew the future.
The
Great job,
future.
omnipotent Willard.
Okay, so he is our lifetime membership, the omnipotent lifetime member, omnipotent Willard, and we also need to thank our crew of intrepid Trek explorers. They include our cadet, Listen Linda, our lieutenant commander, Scott Seligman, and Cosplay Dad, and of course, Captain on the bridge, Captain Charles from Texas.
Captain Charles.
And we want to thank everybody else who's just watching, listening, commenting, leaving your comments on the YouTube channel. Please comment, even if it's something to say like you don't like my hair, because the more comments we get
But I do like
on
his
the
hair.
YouTube channel, that's why I picked it, because I know it's impossible to not like my hair. You see,
Okay.
that was
Are you
was
fishing for a
loaded.
compliment?
Yes. Well, do I have to?
Yeah.
But the more comments we get on the YouTube channel, the algorithm likes us better, and then we'll
Yep,
be
3.1 per
recommended
100,
more.
please.
Yeah, so
Make it happen, crew.
please make it happen, and tell your friends about the show. It's Treksploration, two white guys talking about Star Trek on the internet. Who would have thought? Middle aged at that. So. So we do have some feedback regarding Section 31 from Captain Charles from Texas, but I want to save it to the end because I don't want our comments and his comments to sort of pollinate and interbreed. I
Okay.
want ours
Yeah.
to be
I
ours
haven't
and
read
his
them
to be
yet, so I don't
his.
want them to
Yes.
influence me. I've tried to stay away from most things.
So, I mean, I think I left off where we were. You wanted to talk about something besides Giorgio because that was still just early
There's so
days.
much. And I'm sure Giorgio will come up, but the character of Giorgio, I think that was important because I think that's what this is mostly about. And
Yeah,
then,
it's supposed to be. Right?
So what did you think of the Mission Impossible Jamie Lee Curtis voiceover opening, like exposition dump for maybe people that aren't Trekkies that are watching this?
Normally, it's something that I find works variably. I think usually it's a crutch because instead of showing, we're going to tell. But again,
Right.
if you have a lot of stuff to lay out in a very short time, it can be done well. I mean, that's essentially what the first act of every Mission Impossible is. It's them giving you the briefing of what the mission is, and let's get on with it so we can get to the fun stuff. I think it works better in Mission Impossible because that's very much a directed, mission-focused type of entertainment. Whereas you keep saying like Ocean's 31. I think that
the
the
heist
Ocean's
part.
but the Ocean's movies, they do the show, don't tell. So
Right.
everything in Oceans is completely character driven, and that's why I love all of those movies. I mean,
Original's the
Ocean's-
best, I think.
Yeah, I like Oceans 11 and 13. 12 you can keep for the most part, but I like the first and the third
14's good, but
one.
OG 1960s was it?
Oh,
I think I had the
it
I
had
think I had the poster at one point.
Frank Sinatra is in there.
Rat Pack, yeah.
Yeah, it's a whole Rat Pack thing. But anyway, I think
Yeah.
that if you're going to call up, film franchises that do both methods exceptionally well, I'd say Mission Impossible is on one side and Oceans is on the other side. And I don't know if this threads a needle between those or not. For the character thing, it presupposes that they're going to introduce characters that you like. And for me, this was just a grab bag of very forgettable characters.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to go through them like one by one?
Yeah,
like,
let's go through them.
I want to go through it.
What I was talking about before we go through them, what I was talking about was that whole thing where I think was a big misstep, where is the whole point of the heist movie is they tell you what they're going to do, like they did, but they're telling you what they were going to do, but they're not going to do. So there's no point in telling you now. And then the payoff of that is later on when things go wrong.
Yep.
You know they're going wrong because you know what the setup was supposed to be. But they included that part, even though there was no necessity for it, I think just to introduce these characters, right?
Yeah, I think you're right. And that was, I mean, they said, and this is how it's supposed to go, but this is how it went. And then all of a sudden the Deltan is dead.
Yeah, let's go through the characters. Let's just say a name and let's talk.
Alok, played by Omari Hardwick. He was the augment from the 20th century who apparently has eternal lifespan.
Yes, 350 years or so.
Yeah.
But he was asleep for most of it.
Was he? Did they say that they found
he
him
did say that. He said, but I was asleep for most of it. So
Okay.
So the thought was that he wasn't on Khan's ship, but it was another one of the ships that they launched the augments out of or something. I really enjoyed his performance. I thought he did well. I thought he did as good as Amari. I think he did as good as he could with the character. The one thing that bumped me about his character is when they went to the eugenics war and an augment. I was like, here we go again. I just literally rolled my eyes. I was like, another thing they have to get in here.
Mm-hmm. Well, I can tell you this. I did like the fact that he said that he was from the 20th century, the late 20th century. So they're sticking with the timeline temporal Cold War, temporal war, where we've discovered on Strange New Worlds that it's changed now. That
So this was the original
as
eugenics
a
war.
fact is a later edition. Like the eugenics war now happened sometime in the 21st century, and they're still shoehorning it in. Mm-hmm. Because I guess
Star Trek.
Yeah, because
it's like ChatGPT, give me the 10 most things about Star Trek before I write this script.
Right. So, but did we need an augment? I'm not really sure. I liked Omari in the role. I think that he provided as much of a center as you were going to get in this film. Mm-hmm. He was sort of, maybe it's a thankless task, but he was the straight man throughout most of it.
Yeah.
But they also made him into a hero at the end. So if there was a least offensive character in this, I think it was his.
I think the augment thing was maybe to give one of the characters like a superpower, because he's super strong. When he knocked, was it Data? No, Data. No, Data. One is my name, one is not. I'm not sure. For the longest time, I thought it was Data, not Dada. It's weird. I even read Data the first time I watched it, but then on the screen. But then again, I was wrong. I think he brought a certain calm and maybe gravitas that the group needed. Someone who was sane, in charge, and powerful in his just being.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a center.
So it was good. I like him. I don't have really much more to say about him.
The thing is, they didn't give us much more to go with.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So it's just like he's going to be the toughest nails leader of this. Someone's got to keep these misfits together, kind of thing.
Basically, somebody has to go around and collect the ragtag crew, right? Before they say, "You son of a bitch, I'm in." Quasi. I did like Quasi, played by Sam Richardson. I like the Comaloid. I like the fact that they changed it from just a morph effect to, it looked to me like what we see from the different kind of octopus octopuses and stuff that can change from a starfish to this kind of fish to that kind of fish, in the space of 3 minutes, on the Nature Channel.
As far as I know, octopuses or octopi cannot turn into starfish.
Maybe some kind of squid. What is it? What is
I
it?
don't think that they
Some
have
kind of.
the ability to transmorph into another animal. I think they're always a
I
squid
know.
or an
I'd seen
octopus.
it. What is it? What's the animal? Somebody help us out in chat.
Oh,
But
okay.
like, if you watch the videos, like they're like a piece of coral, then they're like a flat fish on their side, and then they're running.
I
Yeah,
don't know,
anyway.
man.
But I liked it. It looked like it was some kind of highly evolved sea creature than us, instead of just a morph effect. What did you think of that?
I like the morph effect better because it's simpler.
Okay.
I think that also, if you're going to be someone who's like a cameloid that's
Right.
going to blend in somewhere unobtrusively, your
Mhm.
morph effect better be quick and painless, just like it was in the Undiscovered Country. And I realize that you could have the Garth of Izar morph effect, where the entire universe goes out of
Lord
focus,
Garth!
and then all of a sudden he's Kirk. Um,
Mhm.
and I
Direct
know it's
focus, yeah.
because we have the technology now to do more on screen than we did during the original series, than we did during the
Mhm.
Undiscovered Country. Blah blah blah.
Mhm.
I found the morph effect on it ridiculously attention bringing and awkward. I mean, he had to like what? So you have this cameloid that's going to morph somehow to get past the guard, but it's a process in which he completely loses shape, and it's just this series of lines collapsing in on one another. Bad CGI. Isn't that when you shoot him? Like, because you're gonna
It
notice
looked like
that. You're gonna notice that
it
he's
looked
not
like
done changing into the rock monster he's gonna be soon.
dozens and dozens of tentacles. That's what it looked like to me. So I went with octopuses that changed
Yeah, no,
shape.
it looked to
Squid.
me like it almost looked like DNA strands coming to life, like life-size
Okay.
DNA
So we
strands,
saw different things
like
in there.
spinning and collapsing in on one another, and it
Okay.
was just dumb. It was effects for the sake of effects, in
Maybe
my opinion. In my
there
opinion,
was a lot of effects in this
and what did they use this character
thing.
for in this movie, disguise-wise? The only one time when you saw him in disguise, Giorgio clocks him in like 4 seconds, like
Well, it's the
immediately.
eyes. It's the eyes. They're a different color. No matter who he is, he has those orange eyes, which brings up a question. When after for some reason Alok shoots Giorgio and starts interrogating her, which I didn't quite get. The whole time she's got Quasi's eyes. So what the hell was that about?
I didn't notice that. I mean, anytime it was like interrogation, to me it's just Section 31. We're edgy. We do the wet work that Starfleet can do.
Kind of like 24. There was some 24 in there.
Yeah.
But yeah, she had the orange eyes for that scene and only that scene. So I don't know if something was
Maybe
supposed to be
she's a
something.
replicant. Maybe it was Decker, right?
She did talk about a pet spider in her window when she was a kid.
Right. And I
think.
think she made an origami unicorn.
Yeah.
Pretty
So
sure.
there
Yeah.
you go.
So
It
there we
was
go.
raining.
So she was a
Yeah.
replicant. Yeah.
So I like the actor who played Quasi, Sam Richardson. I liked his. Just in general, everybody. I like the banter parts where they were just talking back and forth, kind of like I guess they did in Guardians or so, where they had a direction and things they had to get out, but it was more conversational and less like sticking to the word of the script, like Star Trek is so famous for.
I mean, I guess, but it seemed to me pretty canned. So
Okay.
it was just like, hey, we have such different personalities. Let's see how we can make
Mhm.
them rub each other the wrong way, that kind of thing.
Rub
And
each other.
it's again, it's sort of a cheap way to do quippy. And I
Mhm.
don't know that it's cheap. Maybe I just felt like this outing didn't have the any kind of center to make me feel like I could be part of this group. Whereas I think
Okay.
that's one of the biggest appeal of Guardians was that you had Peter in there as the everyman listening to KTEL, the KTEL classics,
Mhm.
and you immediately identify with him on screen. Anyway, I do.
Mhm.
So already you're 50% there with the character. I don't feel like any of these characters had that factor that made me glom onto them in any way. It was just like, oh, look, I'm this kind of alien. And then we get to the next guy who is for whatever reason, walking around in a mech suit the entire time, like a cut rate
Sam
Iron Man. Like what?
Sam Richardson, who played Quasi, he just gave me that feeling of I like this guy. I want to hang out with him. I think
Okay,
it'd be cool to be friends with him. That's the feeling I got from him.
all right, all
So
right.
I thought they did good. Now you're talking about Zeph,
Zeph.
the mech head, played by Robert Kaczynski.
Yeah.
Now he is, I think, what came out of all the Comic-Con conventions and different interviews that all the cast has done to support this is he is like the true Trekkie in the cast. Like he's a Trekkie up and down. He knows his history. He's seen it all. Loves it all.
But I mean, they
Now,
never give you any kind of reason why he's in that suit. He's just a mech
right.
head. Like, what does that mean?
It was never included, but from what I understand, he was originally, or we were going to find out later on, or something like that. Maybe in the original script, I'm not sure, and I'm very much paraphrasing. But he was supposedly paraplegic, so the suit helped him become more mobile and more of himself. And then he went into what is it? Some kind of dysmorphia. Tech dysmorphia or something, to where he kept improving himself to where he was like this super soldier versus just being able to become mobile again.
And so, I mean, would it have been
Again, not in the film.
Yeah, would it have been interesting to see a character arc where he's damaged and the Federation, because it doesn't believe in genetic tampering, is just like, sorry, we can't help you because this crosses the line. And so he finds an augment that helps him find like an exoskeleton or something. Well, again, I'm rewriting this movie, but I'm just
Right.
thinking,
And if you
how
got to
can
do that, then they're failing, right?
right? And but how can you also put this character into the Star Trek milieu that we know, and make it jive with the rules of the universe, the rules of the Federation, so that it grounds it more into lore, not lore per se, but just a recognizable Star Trek setting, as opposed to, you know, what we're seeing here most of the time.
I think the thing that bumped me most about Zeph was how do you cosplay him? Because if you cosplay him, you're going to look like you're badly cosplaying a Borg.
Well, that's what it was. And honestly, when I wasn't thinking Borg, I was thinking of Victor in the Zack Snyder Justice League Cyborg, because his costume and that his mech, whatever it is, it's not even really a suit, it's him, but it's so chunky and clunky. And this was also a very chunky and clunky. It just wasn't silver, it was black. So I, again,
Definitely foam rubber.
Character. Yeah, definitely foam rubber. Yes. Now, but a type of character that we've seen before in many different iterations. It's another stock sci-fi character.
Okay. I found it refreshing because we haven't seen that really in Star Trek before, though.
But did we need to see it in Star Trek? And if we are seeing it in Star Trek, why are we seeing it in Star Trek? Not just because. But that's everything. Everything we saw here was just because. It's the same reason why we had to let that be your last battlefield alien.
Maybe Zeph's allergic to blue light. That fixes everything, you know.
It could be. And Retnox.
So he has to have this suit. But the suit is him. Yeah, you mentioned the half black and half white. Let this be your last battlefield alien. Lot of crap this guy got. What was his name?
I don't know. He's the one that called Giorgio.
Virgil,
yes. Mistress.
Yeah.
I wrote, my notes are over there on the desk.
So I had many thoughts on this. I like the character. You know, we only saw a little bit of him, kind of like the Alfred for Giorgio. I think people were calling it out because the whole point of Let That Be Your Last Battlefield is they were the only two left at the end.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think I had theorized like maybe they pulled him out of time, or maybe I think you said something like that when he was about to die. They took him, and we were thinking all kinds of time travel stuff. But I think the thought I had maybe the second time I watched it, and I was enjoying Virgil. I think there's so many alien species that just have a bump on their nose or a weird forehead or something. Why couldn't there be more than one species that is half black and half white? You know, like a calico or something like that, right? Just that genetic diversity that makes you have different coloring. You know, so he might not even be a Let That Be Your Last Battlefield, or he might be just that's the way he dresses. I don't know. Does his makeup? What do you think? It's kind of racist to assume he's from that last Battlefield planet
No, it's not.
just because he's half black.
No, it's
and half
not
white.
because it's an established alien. It's one of the most iconic aliens in all of the original series.
Right. They even
And
made Amigo action figure.
this
right?
is and this is what happens when you bring the allegorical slant of the original series up against this hyper realistic slant of New Trek, where everything is completely over designed. I mean, you can make the case that this person was off planet or had left the planet because it was just such a bad
Yeah.
place. But there are a couple problems with this. We don't know how
Okay.
they age, so I guess maybe you can get away with the fact that this is apparently someone in their early 20s, whereas the original series at this point, we're in the Lost era, is at least 25 years before this, at least. I got to think, right? So
Right.
this should be someone that's, like Frank Gorshin type old.
Yeah.
When he's on the original series, but he's not. He's this flippant young. So did they repopulate somewhere? Is he the last of his species? Why don't we go into that? Because you're talking about one of the most tragic episodes of the original series, yet there's no room to explore who this character is. They just said, "Hey, cool. Remember that alien from that episode, the one with the guys and the black and the white? Let's just throw one of those in there." And this shows me that they don't really give a crap about the original series in as far as getting the emotional resonance and treating it with respect. They just want to have all of the toys to play with as they see fit.
Maybe I'm too hopeful, but the way I felt, like if they were going into this, which I think they were, as maybe a pilot or maybe a series of movies or maybe turning into a series, we put him in here now as like the Alfred, as the assistant to Giorgio, and then we find out more about him later. And I don't think like the moral of the "Let That Be Your Last Battlefield" is, your race fought to extinction. There are no more left. Only you two. I don't think the message, if there's 3 of them left or like 5 of them left from a whole planet, I don't think the message is any less important. I think it's the same message.
I guess, but there are ways that you can write this to where the character is. I feel like I keep getting visions of Mason Alexander Park, who was Ian in the new Quantum.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Mason was on the show Cowboy Bebop in a
Okay.
very
Yeah.
similar kind of
Yeah.
role. It's sort of like an attaché, a liaison to a crime boss.
Right.
But they were so good in that role. Part writing, part talent. Mason is very talented. They can bring whatever they need to a scene to make a scene work. I mean, they're on network television for a reason. And I think that they were actually better in Cowboy Bebop, written better in Cowboy Bebop, the live action Cowboy Bebop with John Cho, another Star Trek connection, than they were written in most of the 2 seasons of Quantum Leap, the revival. And that's not shade on Mason. It's not shade on the writers. We're friends with them. We know them all. We respect them all. I just think that the Cowboy Bebop character resonated better for the time that Mason was on screen portraying the character. And if you can have that, which was kind of a smallish role in a very busy show. Otherwise, I don't know if you've seen that live action Cowboy Bebop, but
Cowboy Bebop, first couple episodes, maybe. I need to watch the whole thing. Wasn't it canceled? I think it got canceled while I was watching it.
Yeah, it got canceled the first
So I
season.
kind of stopped watching it because I knew it wouldn't resolve. Probably did it resolve at all?
I guess maybe I'll get to my point now because I've been going on.
Okay, no, you don't have to. I'm enjoying just talking.
I think the point is that Mason had very relatively small screen time, but was able to pack a whole bunch into character work and making their character memorable. Whereas the poor dude that played this had nothing to be but insouciant. And I feel like, all right, that is another cliched, tired character type. And it just brings out the worst aspects of Giorgio, the way they're intent on portraying her in Disco as, like I said, just like a walking quip machine that will threaten to kill you
Hmm.
at some point. So there's
The actor
there's
who played
everything is just so surface. It's just also surface.
what can you do in a pilot though?
But you can
uh,
look at Mason's character in Cowboy Bebop and
yeah,
get back to me.
yeah,
You can
okay.
do a hell of a lot in
Uh,
a pilot.
the person who played Virgil is Augusto Bitter, and I just like their energy,
Okay.
probably more than anything else. But I just people were just they jumped all over the character because of the "Let That Be Your Last Battlefield" connection. So I'm trying to look at the positives in that, and I like that they added that character, especially in this day and time.
Maybe that character was on a sleeper ship too with the lock. Who knows?
Oh yeah, you never know.
Yeah.
Okay, so we talked about Zeph. It's the other thing about Zeph. It's cool to know 350 years later, a drill bit is still a drill bit.
Yeah, I mean you can't really improve on that design
I guess not.
unless
Um,
it's a laser drill bit. It's a space drill bit.
Space drill bit.
Yeah.
Rachel Garrett, played by Casey Roll. Is that how you'd pronounce it?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. Like
Talk to me
rolled
about
on.
Garrett.
Why? If you're gonna have a Starfleet,
Really?
okay, Garrett, I guess, is sort of like a quasi fan favorite because she makes a brief appearance in a very beloved episode of Next Gen.
Yeah.
Or I guess two
Yesterday's
episodes,
Enterprise.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, yesterday's
Mm-hmm.
Enterprise. She's captain of the sea.
Yeah, I'd say
So if
one episode. A
you're
couple
gonna
books,
bring,
right?
maybe you're gonna bring Garrett in to be the Starfleet liaison, but she's not in any way noticeably Starfleet, except for the fact that she maybe has a stick up her butt. I know that she's undercover. I know that, but she doesn't seem in any way to espouse or embody the ideals of the Federation. She's just saying that she does, but she's just going along with everything that's happening here. Just pro rota. They took the name to take the name because
Yeah.
it's a recognizable name.
I'd say at this point, with what we were given, uh, there's nothing that differentiates this Rachel Garrett from any other Starfleet officer they pulled in there. It didn't have to be Rachel Garrett. And I'm thinking the reason they did that is maybe to develop the character later on if they were given more. But she wasn't definitely given anything to do with Rachel Garrett, I don't think, in this episode. And one thing that confused me, she was the Starfleet representative. Isn't all of Section 31 Starfleet? They're just Starfleet rogues, right?
Right.
They're
I
not
guess
just like
they're
hired guns. So I'm very confused about what I thought Section 31 was.
quasi Starfleet. Like they operate outside of the fleet, so she's there officially. Like I guess is like the official eyes and ears of the fleet, maybe even the Federation Council. I'm
Kind
not
of
really
like
sure. I'm not really sure. I don't know if Section 31 operates under the auspices of the Federation Council as opposed to Starfleet because the Council and the fleet are two different things. So we have to see what Sloan says, or Malcolm explains it very well in Enterprise too. There's like there's a whole explanation of how Section 31 is formed and the stipulation within the charter. So I think it might be the Federation charter that allows for this, which means that it's more of a Federation Council thing, not a Starfleet thing. I could be wrong. We could probably
would she be
Wikipedia
like
this right now.
would she be like an inspector general, kind of like the eyes and ears, like you were saying? Like she's there to make sure everybody does wrong, but within the scope of what they approved to do wrong to get the job done.
Right? Like, is it just like the conscious police? Like, so that they can say, hey, we had someone there watching. And then if it goes south, maybe they just have her there as a patsy. Well, it was Garrett's fault.
Maybe.
We can pin it on her. Like, maybe she's a useful idiot to them. She gives them a measure of, I'm not going to say plausible deniability, but just sort of a layer or a scapegoat if needed. Because, hey, you were there. You're Starfleet. You're supposed to represent the ideals of the Federation or of the Federation Council.
But all the Section 31 have the Starfleet communicator. They're just black and silver.
Well, they didn't have
so
that.
So they're Starfleet, right?
No, they didn't.
No,
have
they
that
didn't.
So
no.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, maybe Disco made them into Starfleet, and maybe it's evolved since then because the operation that Sloan was running was nowhere near as visible as what we saw in Disco. So in my head canon, Section 31 has gone from like a CIA type agency that everybody sort of knows about to being pulling back and being more and more a shadow agency like the
Like a Men in
NSA,
Black kind of thing.
yeah, or a Men in Black kind of thing, like a like never say anything kind of deal.
Fight Club.
So
So she's kind of like the Danny Kaye. I don't know. Uh, I, I think Rachel Garrett. I think if they were to go on and it was to go to series, they could do something with it. I don't think they did anything in this
no.
other than use the name and the publicity to get people to go, oh, I like it. Yesterday's Enterprise.
Mm-hmm.
I liked Rachel Garrett. I have that action figure. Maybe I'm going to watch this.
Right. It's just another way. Okay, here's another toy from the toy box.
Yeah.
Let's just use it for
I didn't dislike it, but I didn't see anything Rachel Garrett about her.
Yeah, I mean, and Garrett again was better drawn on the three scenes that she had in yesterday's Enterprise than they had for anybody in this entire film. So as I'm saying, you can have a character that's on screen for a very short time still be impactful. I mean, we're still talking about Rachel Garrett. She was on for a sum total of 7 minutes in 90 billion hours of Star Trek. So
Right.
it's like, don't tell me it can't be done because we have a condensed time frame to do it in. No, it's just that you're not good at doing it. Anyway,
Too much in too little time. We got more people to talk about and more things to talk about Star Trek Section 31. And we'll do that after this short break. And we're back. We're talking Star Trek Section 31.
It was about time we took that break. I've been talking way too much, and I plan to keep doing it.
Yes, that's what we're getting paid for, right?
Yeah, I guess.
We're getting paid, aren't we? I don't know. Okay, so we're going through the cast list when last we were here, and I think we made it up to. We just talked about Rachel Garrett, so we made it up to Sven Rygrok as Fuzz.
I would say Sven Roigrok.
Thank you. I should let you read these things. You're a little bit more educated. You have a degree in English.
Well, no, I'm just, I'm
Fuzz. I could read Fuzz.
Fuzz.
So let's talk about Fuzz.
Do we have
and not the Fuzz that the Andorian had? All right. So what did you think about this character they pulled directly out of Men in Black? The little alien guy controlling the robot.
I was thinking Matt Smith in one of the seasons of Doctor Who when he was inside a robot of himself. Tiny Matt Smith running Big Matt Smith, or Eddie.
And Murphy. I think you said Meet Dave.
Meet Dave, yeah.
Yep.
So, quite frankly, and also, wasn't there a character like this in Total Recall? I think there might have been. Anyway,
let me think. I've seen that so many times.
I just remember like some blobby-looking robot opening up and something coming out of it.
Oh no, the Quato. That's different. That was like his twin brother that never fully formed.
Oh, all right.
In his gut, either way, because the radiation on Mars. He's a Quato. When you have something coming out of your belly, they're a Quato.
Okay. No, I'm thinking of like some woman's head opening up.
Oh, that was the bomb, right?
I guess so.
Get ready for a surprise.
Okay. Yeah. Again, I saw it in the theater. When did it come out in the theater? I
want to say 91.
No. Total Recall? I think that's the product of the 80s.
89. Somebody help us out.
I saw it.
What do you think of Fuzz? I know Sean Ferrick from Trek Culture went on for about 8 minutes about how his accent was horrible and offensive.
Oh, I don't know about that. I mean,
yeah, I can't tell.
He's an alien, so his accent is his accent. That's just his
That's
thing.
True. It might have evolved over time and gotten to Vulcan that way. Yeah, Vulcan Ireland.
So why do we need to have a microbe alien walking around in a Vulcan meat suit or a Vulcan mech suit or whatever? So now basically we have a second character in a suit walking around. Again, another stock science fiction character at this point that they said, wouldn't that be fun? Why don't we do this kind of guy and this kind of guy and this kind of guy? And
yeah, I could see that happening. Yeah.
And so it's just like, so then and then I guess maybe the twist is they make Fuzz into the villain, right? So it's like this little thing. Oh, you didn't see that coming, did you? And maybe we did. I don't know, because they established pretty early on that he could fly out of that Vulcan's nasal cavity and get into whatever machine they want to gum up the works. So there
Right,
wasn't
data no.
that wasn't that big of a mystery to me.
Did you see it coming?
Yes, I knew that
Okay.
Fuzz was the bad guy. The second that they started throwing shade on Zeph, I knew that it was Fuzz screwing with the suit. I just knew it, and I was right.
Okay.
So did you? Did you see it coming?
No, I think at that point I was just my short term memory was full from everything too much happening, so
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't able to process at the time. I did see that San being the mask guy. Did you ever think that the mask guy was not San?
No, because why introduce him? It's like the Chekhov's gun. If
Right.
you if you're going to introduce him in the first act, you better be using him in the third act.
Yeah.
So
I think that
it was necessary for the Giorgio arc, whatever you want to call the character journey that she had in this.
yeah, the laughing Vulcan thing, introducing him that way. Um, where have we heard that before in Star Trek? The laughing Vulcan.
Cybok.
Yes, Cyback. So maybe it was like one of those things where like write me a list of characters from Star Trek and all of sci-fi, and then it kind of mashed it up. I thought the actor who played him was all right. I there was no time while I was watching this that I didn't think Men in Black, so that was distracting. I think just that character, but there was some funny lines where like he said he had 190,000 kids on the way or something.
Right.
But that's the one point where I thought, speaking of Total Recall, like the guy in Total Recall goes, "I got 5 kids to feed." When he said that, when said he's got 190,000 kids coming, I was like, "Oh, he's a bad guy because he's got 5 kids to feed." That's the
Oh,
Total Recall of this.
okay. All right. Yeah, I have no recall of Total Recall, so
Oh, you gotta watch it; it's great.
so you stand alone. Yeah, I watched it that one time. It was fine. Yeah, I think that the Fuzz character was another misguided attempt at levity, at
Okay.
being like subverting expectations. I don't know. It's like, why do you need? Okay, so say you do have this character. Why do they got to walk around in a disguise, like a Vulcan disguise? Why not just have them kind of like Zero, the Medusan in Prodigy? Like,
Hmm.
this alien presents yourself. Why are you walking around? And I guess maybe because of the undercover thing of it, but it's a freaking microbe. You're not going to be able to see it. Now you can see it coming from a mile away, and it becomes a vulnerability. Whereas you could have this thing flying around in a ship that's a speck.
That gives him in kind of like a superpower as well for the team moving forward. If he was going to be part of the team and not the bad guy,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
confusing to me. Yeah.
yeah. It's another misguided thing. Wouldn't that be cool? How does it fit? We'll figure it out in post.
Did you like how they brought the actor back as his wife?
I was completely non-phased. I
Damn.
I couldn't give less of wisp.
Wisp. Yeah, I like that they were. It might have some way been some kind of trans metaphor. I'm not sure because they were having to call him her and Mrs. at the end. I don't know,
No,
but it
it's a
was just
different character.
it was a different character, but the same actor. So I kind of like that he came back as his own wife, or the actor came back, and again going forward, that might have been something interesting, but for just that little dot at the end, unnecessary.
It was hardcore fettin' mud. It was nonsense.
I noticed that San turned him off just like Data would get turned off or something.
Oh, you mean the mech suit or the meat suit?
Yeah,
I don't want to call it the meat suit. I mean,
meat suit.
maybe it's
Yeah,
the
meat suit.
T2000. It's got sweat, bad breath, the
T1000.
whole nine, and it will not
Uh,
stop ever until your movie is ruined.
we've gotten to San, which is this is the love story. This is an action movie that has a love story in it, so maybe that's why I liked it a little bit. What did you think about San and his story, at least in this, and the love story in general?
James Hiroyuki is
Thank you.
Hiroyuki Lau. I'm not
Lao,
sure.
I think. Lao.
Plays San. If there was a brighter spot in this film, it was San's character as like the Jiminy Cricket for Giorgio, because it was one of the only instances in this character's entire history, in my opinion, where you saw some sort of crack in the facade. And as you asked me earlier, do I think that this did a better job with Giorgio? Yes, I do, because again, this was putting in place the very bare minimum beginnings of a Giorgio that might be redeemable. And San had just about everything to do with that, because I don't know why. I bought the fact that they were close, and I bought the fact that she had remorse, even though she's remorseless. And I could see him being bitter. So I don't know. How about you? What did you think of San as a character?
I I enjoyed him. I liked the fact that like I said, I telegraphed it was him in the mask. I found it enjoyable that we got to see more of who Giorgio is behind the mask that she wears as the most evil person in the whole Terran Empire. Because everybody, I think, still has need for like some human contact, and everybody, from their perspective, is the hero, pretty much. Even though I don't know if that's possible with everything she's done, but I, it's like a tragic thing because the whole time that he was there, she had the power to you know bring him up or with her, do something, and continue that love story. If she's the ultimate supreme ruler of this reality, why is he still in the position he is and have to do what he has to do?
Yeah, yeah. And again, if I could see if you were going to have a dictatorship that was based on hereditary line. So you can't have anybody that could be a threat to your family or your line. But again, if you're just going to be some rando that is going to somehow assume the mantle of the emperor, then you can make it whatever you want it to be, because when you're gone, you're gone. It's not like you're saving it for posterity for your children. And how many, mad emperors have run their empires into the ground because they don't give a crap. They leave it for the next generation to pick up the pieces. I want what I want. So again, I think it goes back to the fact that they just don't even have a frame of reference in which to do that. But then you have Sand saying, "Hey, why don't we do that?"
Mm-hmm.
But maybe not as effective as Kirk and Spock because they don't have that slash relationship. I guess I don't know. I don't know.
But and they express love for each other, and I felt the love. And what was interesting to me is, what am I right in thinking that after Giorgio left the Terran Empire universe, that San became the leader?
Yeah, yeah. He
Somehow?
he stepped up and filled the vacuum.
Okay,
I guess maybe he
so
had Michael put to death. Black lipstick and Michael put to death. Or was she wearing blue lipstick? I think it was blue lipstick. Yeah.
so in a way, it was like the two leaders on an equal footing, like the Moriarty and Sherlock, that loved each other but like fought each other to the death.
I don't think
But
that
but
Moriarty and Sherlock loved each other, but okay.
depends on which books you read, I guess.
I think I pretty much read them all.
uh, what I found interesting is they were basically fighting to the death over this whole God's end, and but after she killed him, or dealt the fatal blow, they went to this other level again of being connected and being really who they were in the relationship and not representing their two sides, which were again themselves. So it was very complex for me, but I liked that moment after he knew he was dying when they were real with each other again. I like that
Yeah.
moment. Did you like that beat or think? What do you think of that beat?
Again, I thought it was cheap. Because here's the thing: they're going to be enemies because we need it for the pew pew fight scenes and for the
Mhm.
MacGuffin to be a real threat to the Federation. But then when she kills him or he get whatever, we're going to then subvert that so that we can get a cheap emotional reaction because they're quote in love. If they were so quote in love, he could see that her circumstances have changed. Why doesn't she tell him I'm not the emperor anymore. You're the emperor. You're the one that was giving me all this proto philosophical nonsense up at the top of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't you embody the things that you told me that I should be embodying? Why are you trying to conquer the prime universe with my MacGuffin? I so many opportunities lost. I
Yes.
mean, so yeah, I
And neither one of them are in the Terran Empire right now. So they both got away. They
right, they
both
can
ran
do
away.
yeah, they can
They
do
could be together.
whatever they want, and yet they don't because we need it for the drama. And then I'm getting too serious. I mean, we're supposed to be doing funny stuff, but you just keep pointing out dumb decision after dumb decision.
Mm-hmm.
Who's left?
Who is left? Well, what do you think of the actor? I think he was great.
Oh, he was
So,
fine.
it's
Let
great.
me back up here. I think
Okay.
that the actors that we saw in this, for the most part, did as good as they could possibly do with what they were given. This is
Mm-hmm.
not about the actors. I feel like that no matter what, that should be the default of everybody watching us.
Mm-hmm.
If I have a problem with an actor, I will tell you flat out, I don't like Michelle Yeoh as an actor.
Mm.
And I've been saying that for years. So you'll know if it's an actor thing versus a character thing because I'll let you know. Otherwise, I think the actors are doing fine. It's just that
Mm-hmm.
they don't have great material or no material, as you know, as proven by the Delton character Melee. I don't know.
Yes.
By played by
Well, I think Mel.
Humberly
They spell it out
Mel.
Malay, but I think they're calling her Mel, so I don't know if that's a nickname. But
Melee.
yeah, that
Melee.
goes along with what Rennie said. Her thoughts were, the costume design was amazing, and the actors were good, and that's the only thing she could really say good that she liked about it.
And it was still a little
So-
bit too generic sci-fi and clunky for me, but a lot of the disco aesthetic I think carries over into that. It's just it's over designed and too busy.
Mhm.
Um,
How about that? How about that dragon train on that dress that transforms?
yeah,
That was
it
crazy.
just like it gets lost in the noise, man.
Yes, we're talking about Mel. Now, this is the one character.
Mel Melee.
This is the one character where I don't think I liked the casting, and I don't think it's the actor's fault, the actress's fault. I think the whole thing about like for my whole life, the Delton was Princess. What was her name?
It was Parsis
Yes, that's it.
Kambata.
Um, uh,
Persis Kambata.
and
Actually, as we
Yay.
well know, there she is.
Highly appropriate.
Okay.
So like she was my ideal Delton for most of my life, and like she actually went through the process of shaving her head for the role, and it's obvious. Now the other obvious
Yeah.
thing,
There's video of her crying
Yeah,
when they shave her.
which is sad, but you know I've been there. I had the whole haircut like that once, but luckily you know I rock short hair most of my life, so it grows back quicker. But for this character, it was very obvious. It was like a bald cap. I mean, they did well, but you can only hide hair so much. So that kind of
Well, she was on screen for some total of like
right. So
14
don't shave all that
seconds, so-
gorgeous hair for 14 seconds. But
Yeah.
how many actresses out there are rocking the bald look that could have done it already? I don't know. It just was the
don't
whole
ask
thing.
me.
Is like every time I see Kess and that short wig, it just irks me, and just the bald cap irks me. It's like if you're going to do it, do it.
Gotcha.
Thoughts?
Like Kim Cattrall. Kim Cattrall
Yeah,
got a
she
haircut
did, and
for
how?
Undiscovered Country. Yep.
So-
So she was committed. I think it's completely like you said. I mean, she knows that she's a one trick pony in this. They're not going to ask her to shave her head. You know, Kambata was like a season she had committed. So, I mean, the character is going to be bald for many episodes. I think that back when they were doing this, they were still 26 episode seasons.
Right.
So she had to do just probably for budget reasons. And she was probably dedicated enough to want to do it instead of getting the bald cap. It was kind of like you think about Zan
Yeah.
on Farscape, played by
Virginia Hay. I cried when I met her.
Wonderful, lovely, talented Virginia
She was lovely.
Hay. She was
Yes.
the greatest. And she shaved her head for the first couple of seasons, and then she was finally like, "Screw you guys, get me a bald cap." So Kimbata might have done that. Persis, whatever her name is, might have at one point, as the show advanced, had enough leverage to say, "I'm not doing this anymore." But I can't see them wanting to have this poor actress shave her entire head.
But why not cast someone?
For what amounts to be on like a
But why not cast someone?
Why do we have to cast someone
without hair?
Who is why? That's why you have makeup. I mean, it's
so maybe it should have been done better.
I know that we have this thing, which is rightfully so, where we cast everybody appropriately to their ethnicity and to, you don't want to have blackface on screen anymore. I get it, but are we going a little too far where we have to cast someone who just happens to be bald to play a Delta?
Well, is this bald face?
Who's in a show for
Is this bald face?
Is there such a thing? If you want to call it, you're a bald-faced liar. If you pretend that you're offended at this, then yeah, it's bald.
I don't know. The whole thing about Deltons is their beauty is so much so that you can't resist them. So I think messing with someone's beauty by giving them a big butt head kind of messes up with the whole thing. I did like the heart-shaped bubblegum.
To each his own.
Heart-shaped bubblegum bubble. I did like that little gag.
Yeah, that was dumb. That was really stupid. It's getting late, man. I'm just gonna pull punches anymore.
It's stupid. I hate it.
Bubblegum was just
gonna kick it.
Dumb effect. It's stupid. I hate it.
But what did you think of her performance? And were you shocked or did you care when she disintegrated?
No. I honestly, I didn't see enough of her except for, again, this is, oh, look, there's a Delton. And Georgia, that is an obvious honeypot. Well, we didn't see her try to seduce anybody. I guess she was there to seduce
the squid.
The squid,
no. Maybe.
So, I mean, then why not have Quasi do it? Why did we have a Cameloid if not to impersonate a Delton or to do the honeypot thing? Wouldn't
that would have been funny?
Kind of more funny.
That would have been the joke from Star Trek 6.
So why put poor Humberly Gonzalez through this?
Yeah, and it seems like it might have been like a beat from the original ideas, and that would have ended the episode or thereabouts. More shocking, but when there's just introducing the character and they kill somebody off, like it's impossible to really feel anything for them, I think.
Yeah, I mean, so it's just like it's blink and you miss him. And I don't know if that is really, like, I don't even know why she's in the cast list, quite frankly.
It got me interested. Like the publicity shots and different things. Like I was like, oh, a Delton, and the bald cap wasn't so bad in the still photography. Maybe that's because they could fix it, but there's only so much you can hide in live action. I think it was done well. You couldn't see a line, but I think that might have been helped out with some computer also. They do that where they remove lines now.
Probably.
But yeah, and I don't know. It just didn't work for me. I think that was a miscast. That was the only one that I thought. So, Data no. Dada.
Joe Pingway.
Yeah.
Basically behind so much weird, again, tech makeup. I don't understand why they needed to do that, except to make it look futuristic sci-fi. Look
very Johnny Mnemonic-ish.
So
maybe. Speaking of Farscape, I felt a Farscape vibe in this too. You know how like I was seeing so many different things in this, and I think it was when Alok and Giorgio at the end were like basically going into the ion storm to explode themselves, and they were standing near that window and they were all dressed in black. I was getting very Farscape. Whatever, season 5 or something.
Very Aaron Crichton
vibes.
In their leathers.
Exactly. I was getting that vibe.
If only either of them were as cool as Aaron.
Did I talk about the AI that I saw in the episode film special?
No. And it's almost time for me to ask you a very important.
It's almost time. Well. The one thing that bumped me first about this is in the beginning of the thing with young Giorgio, her family, when they're sitting around the table, it's like they needed to steal a shot and they didn't have it. So they used stills and AI to animate the stills. And it was just very off-putting. I watched a lot of AI, stills to video and like descriptions to video and different things. And it looked a lot like that. It just did not look real.
Well, yeah, maybe. I mean, I guess if you have that tool available to
Mhm.
you, I wonder where you get like just do you have to give like money to the set photographer
Ooh,
or
that's a good
to
question. Maybe they have to sign in the thing
right?
already like that. But
Yeah, I don't know.
okay, so that's pretty
I
much the
don't know.
cast, right? Did we forget anybody?
Yeah, no, I think we went through more than anybody in the history of the universe has gone through. This cast, including the writers who created them.
Yeah.
So
So other things before we wrap up.
at this point, maybe we do some
Yeah,
episode
let's do that.
crush.
The one other thing I wanted to mention, I
Who's
think,
your
before we
episode
get there, because we
crush?
really didn't talk about the story, did we?
Hmm. Is there a story? It's a MacGuffin. We got to stop the MacGuffin from destroying the Federation.
And that was a
That's the
lame
story.
MacGuffin, the little magic 8 ball.
Yeah, it was just. Yeah, it was just like I don't know. It's like it's another thing that I think is it's not a fault of Section 31, but ever since Raiders of the Lost Ark, every single movie slash show slash whatever has to revolve around a MacGuffin, a central MacGuffin. And I'm not saying that it wasn't done before Raiders. What I'm saying is that Raiders put it into my consciousness, and now I can't help but unsee it. I don't think anybody can help but unsee it at this help but see it at this point. So it just always sticks out, and when you make it this central thing, and it's so again disco level over designed, then it's just like okay, that's what we're gonna chase this entire movie. I don't know. I don't know. I feel like there are different things, but you know they do it with a Fabergé egg in
Yeah,
Ocean's 12, and they do it with the, you know, it's everywhere
it's
now. It's
it's as
ubiquitous.
ubiquitous as a ticking clock,
So
I guess.
you know, I think that the yeah, and going back to like the monkeys in the '60s, they always had a MacGuffin in every
Hey,
episode. So
hey, we're the monkeys.
anyway,
What do you think of the glitter?
so but what did you think? What did you think? What did you think of the plot? I know you asked me, and then I just railroad. I didn't ask you.
It didn't have enough time to get me interested in it. It wasn't one thing Con Genesis. Uh, you have time to focus on it and you care about it. Like this was just like another thing thrown in there that you really couldn't care about.
I don't think that that's because again, I think it's
It
just
could be.
bad writing. You don't care about you don't care. You say that you don't care about it because there's just too much coming at you. But that again, you're making an excuse for like it would have been good if not for this. I just don't think it would have been
That's a
good.
possibility, and I guess that's why we're here, and that's why we're talking about it, right? All right, so
I can't believe how circumspect you're being for
I
Section
enjoyed
31.
it. The fifth time I enjoyed it. I don't know if it's just because I've heard it so many times I
Uh,
like it, the song, that it's not actually good, but I like it because I've heard it so
yeah,
many
yeah,
times that it's catchy. It's like
I
double mint
guess.
gum, that kind of thing. Um, I like the music. I like the music.
Oof.
Eh,
Oh, the
yeah,
music. We got to talk about
I
that.
loved it. I love the
How
pop
did you
and
expect it to
and
go into the?
okay.
But it sounded like the first. It sounded like the first bars of the Borg music from First Contact. The bah, bah, and you kept expecting it to go into the Borg music, and it never does. So even the music was derivative of things we've already seen in Star Trek done better.
It was all derivative. Everything was done before, just done differently, kind of.
And that singer singing the synth pop was
Yeah,
just
was
like, what?
very Fifth Element, I would say,
Yeah, I was thinking
like the
Fifth
opera singer
Element
from
as
Fifth
well.
Element.
I was thinking the opera singer, and I was also thinking, well, no, I'm thinking maybe in one of the Star Wars movies there was something close. Maybe in Jabba's Palace.
Oh yeah,
So,
yeah,
yeah.
definitely a little Star Wars in there too.
So,
But the pop songs that were in there, I kind of caught on, and I think I'd buy the CD if it came out. But I doubt we're going to get anything from this. I know we're going to get the Blu-rays coming out. What in April? I think.
I'm
I think I
sure.
sent it to
I
you.
don't buy Blu-rays, so
Yeah,
sounds
but
good to me.
I'll buy it. But it's not because, like, again, I don't think it's a movie, so I don't have to have like the what is it, 13 Star Trek movies and then this movie. Like, I don't need
Hmm.
that in my collection. I don't think it's ever going to be in a collected Star Trek movies collection.
No,
But I'll
it will
buy it
not.
just to have it, and hopefully there's a commentary. Hopefully there's some behind the scenes stuff. I don't know.
Maybe
That'll make
they'll
it worth it.
they'll bundle it with box set of Disco, the complete
Maybe
series.
the complete. Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with it. Okay, who was your episode crush?
I never really even thought about it until I saw it on the rundown, and
Okay.
I guess you tell me who yours was.
Okay, I'm gonna go with this was difficult. I had three options because of course Michelle Yeoh, I'm a big fan, and I think she's sexy, like in every way. Um, um, but and I guess the Delton was up for but I have to go with Miku Maratinu. Sorry, I can't pronounce it right. Young Philippa Giorgio.
I was going to go there myself.
Yeah, she's just unbelievably gorgeous in every way, and and the fact that she was an amazing actor and did the best with what she was given. Also, that she's my episode crush. I'd like to see
All
more.
right,
Maybe if they do a series, young Philippa Giorgio.
yeah, the young Philippa Giorgio Chronicles. We
Yep.
learned how she became afraid of snakes.
Yep. Exactly.
That's my crush too. What's your favorite part of the episode?
Whew. The hijinks towards the end where it's after they're on the flame cannon planet while they're on the garbage scow and trying to make things work, and they're all working together as a team to accomplish stopping the MacGuffin. And just like the interactions between the characters once they're finally
you
there.
Keep freezing. I thought that we lost you. I'm sorry.
You haven't lost me yet. That's in about a year. When the crew is finally gelled all together and they're in that crisis towards the end, and Quasi is pressing buttons even though he can't read the language and stuff, and everybody's working together, and Rachel Garrett goes down and gets the Planet of the Apes Mama doll to blow up something. I like that whole feeling. It was definitely the what I think what they were going for in the Guardians of the Galaxy Part 1 feel. So I enjoyed that part. That was fun. It was weird to see naked Andorians though, so I'm gonna give that a down.
Did we see naked Andorians? Are you talking?
We did, and it makes me question the genitals of Andorians when they were doing the next phase fight, and they interrupted the coitus. But then they went back into the room, and then the naked Andorian, I'm going to say guy, was just standing there.
I honestly didn't pause or really see
it. I had to pause because the first time I saw it, I thought there was it would look like the 70s. And then like the next time I watched it, it looked like, the early 2000s. And now it just looks like a Ken doll. So I don't know what I saw.
Well, they say Andorians have 4 genders according to data. So
maybe that's the thing.
Something that's non-specific to gender as we perceive it.
Yes, that's what I saw. But I was surprised that I saw it. But I guess they can do it because it's a movie.
It's a movie. We can see Klingon boobies. We can see Andorian smooth patches.
Yes.
So I don't know if I have a favorite part of the episode. Quite frankly, I'd be hard pressed. Because nothing is standing out to me. So I'm for the first time ever, I'm gonna pass on favorite part of the movie. Favorite part. I'm not gonna say the end.
Oh, you know what?
Kind of cheap.
You know what part of the cast we didn't talk about? Jamie Lee Curtis. What do you think about her being part of the Star Trek universe
Jamie
now?
Lee Curtis. I guess that's okay. I mean, she plays Control. So is she a robot? Is she an AI?
She looked kind of like a Borg, didn't she?
I don't know what was going on with that. It's just like, hey, let's get Jamie Lee Curtis. I guess she and Michelle Yeoh are friends, and Michelle was able to talk her into coming in to do this part. From everything I've gleaned from barely reading any articles about this.
That was my guess because they worked on Everything Everywhere All at Once together.
Yeah. Yep. So
and I think what confused me about her role in here is I guess I'm very good with voices. Did you know it was Jamie Lee Curtis at the very beginning? Because I was like, oh, they got Jamie Lee Curtis. That's cool.
No, the second that she came up, I saw that's Jamie Lee Curtis.
Yeah. I could tell her voice because I'm a fan. And but so at the end, it seemed like it was a big reveal, like ta-da, it's Jamie Lee Curtis. But like they started the film off with that. So it was kind of like if you weren't paying attention, it's a surprise, but it's not really a surprise.
Oh, I didn't know until I saw her that she was in this. I didn't realize that. Was
Really?
she narrated in the beginning?
Yeah, she was the one giving
Oh,
the Mission Impossible rundown.
oh, I think a lot of that I was passing out through most of that.
That's right.
So
Bad
yeah,
seafood. Yeah, I'd never
yeah,
get the
yeah,
sushi, man. Never do the sushi.
yeah. So
I
it
I
was
thought it was
helps.
cool. I like her. I really haven't watched the what is it, the Halloween series too much. I had them all play one day and I didn't really pay attention. But I like her, like in Trading Places. She's amazing in Trading Places, and she's good in True Lies. And I just went to see The Last Showgirl, and she was really good in that with Pamela Anderson and Dave Bautista. The movie sucked, but she was good in it. Dave Bautista was good in it.
Cool. Cool. So
Yeah,
Jamie Lee Curtis going strong. The last thing I saw her in, she was amazing in, was the Bear.
The
She
Bear.
was
Oh, I
a
haven't seen that.
guest,
It's
yeah,
it's good. I know you were watching
guest
that. She's
star
in
in the
that.
second season of the Bear. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. So
Interesting.
good
Yeah, she
stuff.
plays the next
Good stuff.
showgirl in The Last Showgirl. It's pretty interesting.
There we go. So Jamie Lee Curtis now part of the Star Trek universe.
So maybe I get to meet her eventually at a Star Trek
I don't
convention.
think that she's going to be stumping on conventions with the probably her and the woman who played Mel.
Mel.
The two
Yeah.
shortest screen time.
Anybody could sit at a table and say they played Mel. And they would believe it.
Anyway,
So,
so
hey, what's next?
no 47. I didn't see a 47 here, or if there is one.
47 plots in 90
Yeah,
minutes.
the 47 plots they crammed into every square inch of this
Yeah.
film. I mean, before we do our final thoughts, we do have some feedback
Ooh, feedback.
from Captain Charles. So why don't I read that now, and then
Captain
we'll wrap up.
Charles.
Sound good?
Yep. Sounds great. We'll do the wrap up and then ask you the question.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll do Captain Charles from Texas writes, section 31. What the hell was just that? What did I just see? Something like that. He writes, my hopes were destroyed. No Excelsior class ships, no maroon uniforms. First, the good, Rachel Garrett. Casey Roll did a great job as a believable baby Garrett. She was Starfleet but fun. I liked the team's leader, Alok, though I felt that his origin was wasted a bit and they didn't explain why him being an augment meant a long lifespan. The Cameloid was fun enough and I liked the starfish save. Giorgio was okay. I was curious about Zeph but didn't care when he died. Now, everything else first. I never truly despised a Star Trek character ever. I've been annoyed at Luxwana, been frustrated by Alexander, and don't get me started on their combo TNG episode, but I could tolerate them most of the time. I've
The higher, the
appreciated
fewer.
most. I've appreciated most of the Trek villains. Ruafa was over the top and Insurrection, but still tolerable. And man, I can't tell you how many times a coworker and I would quote his forehead splitting "No" at work. LOL. I truly despise Fuzz. I'm not sure if it was the writing or the actor or both, but I never ever want to see him again. Over the Top doesn't cover it. Unnecessary and not a fit for so many reasons. Vulcan robot? I guess. But the accent was overdone. The energy was way too much. Terrible. Next, the Delton. What a wasted opportunity. Humberly Gonzalez is a good actor, and we finally got to see what it's like when a Delton doesn't take the oath of celibacy and then she's dust. I would have liked to have seen more. Next, Giorgio. I thought that her bar was over the top. I think if you're truly trying to make up for what you've done, you don't do that by running a bar on the edge of the galaxy. I think if they wanted to sell that she wanted to start filling her ledger with black instead of red ink, they failed. Now, let's get this out of the way. The cannibalism concept introduced by Discovery was a terrible idea, should never have been done. It's hard to move past and accept the concept of a redemption story, I guess, because she's eating the eyeball, like we said.
Mm-hmm. And it's
Next.
Kelpian, probably, most likely.
Next, section 31 itself. They were the bad guys, right? I think setting a story in a time period before the organization lost Sloan is a mistake. There should be nothing good about them. I'll talk a bit more about what might have worked below. Next, the time period. There was absolutely no reason to set this in the Lost Era. If we're not going to get any new information about it, why set it then? All we know is what we saw in yesterday's Enterprise, Tapestry, and various flashback scenes. This was a massive missed opportunity. They squandered it. As stated above, let's talk about a time period that might have worked better. Why not set this story post DS9? Why not show us a section 31 with Bashir in charge, trying to reshape the organization while also trying not to let it corrupt him? They could have used that as a springboard for multiple ideas, possibly tied into Legacy if they ever got around to it. It's a shame. Next, the story. Weak and simplistic. Scary bomb shows up, gets stolen, they get it back and destroy it. The end. Also, San and his age. The first time Giorgio saw him, it was what, 2250 something? Then she met Prime Burnham at some point later and was trapped in the Prime universe, then ended up in the 32nd century, then took a ride through a Guardian Forever and ended up in the Lost Era near 2330 something. How was it that San wasn't 70 to 80 years older? It's just lazy.
I did see that.
Finally,
That's true. Yeah.
speaking of JLC, the cameo. I can never dislike Jamie Lee Curtis, but it wasn't clear if she was real or a hologram of Control. Speaking of Control, I thought it was destroyed at the end of Disco Season 2. In summary, I didn't hate spending time watching it, but I'll never watch it again. I felt embarrassed by the first 20 minutes, cringe fest. In the end, I hope this terrible mistake doesn't ruin the streaming movie concept, as there are so many other worthy ideas to pursue in that format. Cordially yours, Captain Charles from Texas. Now get back to work flying the ship.
Captain Charles. Thank you, Captain Charles.
Thank you, Charles. Yeah, a lot of good points there. And yeah,
Well,
I don't know that I'm caught up. How about you with this whole Lost Era concept of when to set this?
there is a specific time because they give a star date, so it is set in a specific time. It is in the Lost Era, but I don't remember the official year
But
and date that they gave. But
do you think it suffers from being set in that time, or was that a missed opportunity for you? Because Charles wanted to see, I guess, a lot of stuff to maybe bridge.
when I heard Rachel Garrett, I could not help but want to see more of that era.
Mm-hmm.
And nothing in this that they gave us had any bearing on it. It could have been set in any time, really, and it looked almost like disco in the 57th century. There wasn't
Gotcha.
much
Well, I
difference.
mean, is it time for you to ask me a very important question?
Yes. Before I do that, my one cleanup is remember I was saying that me and Rennie watching together, and then just pointing out like what they stole things from. It
Yeah,
was
yeah, yeah.
when San took a little bit of poison each time to get used to the poison, right? And this is a
Ah,
very sad, dramatic part where he's dying and blood's coming out of his mouth. And Serenity and I both looked at each other and said, "Princess Bride," and we laughed.
inconceivable.
Inconceivable, exactly. I was like Wallace Shawn. I was like, he's on Deep Space Nine. It's perfect.
I was gonna say,
So
there you go. You just thought of
yeah,
Zek, right? Grand
yeah,
Nagus Zek.
we were given like a riff track to it, but we could, but so many things. Anyway, I just wanted to mention that because I just thought that was funny, even though it wasn't supposed to be funny. The question is, okay, and here's the question. And if you've seen the thumbnail to this video, the edited version, you know the question. So we have to answer it so it's not clickbait.
Yeah,
Do
I
you
haven't seen it.
think with Section 31 that now Star Trek has jumped the shark?
I don't believe Star Trek has ever jumped the shark. Or if it has jumped the shark, it's jumped the shark multiple times and always finds a way up, even when its legs are chewed off. I think that this is just a misfire of a movie that is really almost an inevitable culmination with this fetish they have with Michelle Yeoh. So again, you I think you described very succinctly why she's there, that she's an asset to the franchise. She's an award winner that can cross different genre boundaries to bring in eyeballs. So I get it. I think we get it. At the same time, it's a character that I never liked anyway. So you saying, does Section 31 make Star Trek jump the shark? It makes me say, does the introduction of Giorgio, ipso facto, make Star Trek jump the shark? And I don't think so. I think Star Trek will survive Disco. I think Star Trek will survive Giorgio. I think Star Trek will survive. How about you? Do you think that this made Star Trek jump the shark?
I was really close to thinking maybe. Um, but watching
Really?
it, I think it'll survive it. I'm with you. But I think part of the problem is the people making Star Trek now are making what they think Star Trek is or what they heard Star Trek is versus what the fans want to see out of their Star Trek. And it's unfortunate that this failed so hard critically and fan wise, because I like the idea of made for streaming movies because we need an Enterprise movie. I would love to see a Voyager movie. I would love to see a Deep Space Nine movie. And there's so many things that you could make a great one-off from in the Star Trek universe. That would be great, like Star Wars does. So many good things in these like one-off series or something,
Mm.
and that would be great, like a limited series. But I think this might be a death knell to that format because they're not going to say, okay, we made something in the Star Trek universe that wasn't that good. They're going to say, oh, people don't want new Star Trek movies because they don't understand what we want. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but I don't know if I understand what you're saying. I don't know if this would really be a good indicator of the efficacy of Star Trek movies because look at Strange New Worlds. Look at the last season of Picard. There is quite clearly an audience that's hungry for what you would call classic Star Trek. And the fact that again they just had this weird sore thumb of a character that they needed to wrap up because they decided not to do a series. The only reason this movie got made was Michelle Yeoh, period. They said, we got her, we probably already paid her, so let's make something out of this aborted TV production. So I think it might be an outlier. I think it might be an anomaly that they had to sort of, hodgepodge together so that they could just reap something out of what they've invested. And I think that your question would be a lot more valid if Star Trek was just this. If Star Trek was just this, then yes, it would have jumped the shark. But Star Trek is not just this. You have Strange New Worlds, you have Picard, you have Starfleet Academy, you still have all the comic books, you have, the novels, you have Star Trek has always been very diversified, starting with its renaissance in the late 80s and the 90s. They have never kept all their eggs in one basket since DS9 premiered in the fifth season of Next Gen or whatever season it was. So they learned early on to get out there and to do more stuff and to maybe diversify the IP. So it's like a shark that's always swimming. You don't like this bit here, well, it's going to go by and you'll like the tail fin, or you'll like, what it's clenched in its jaws, because this is also Star Trek, but it's exploring something that maybe you haven't seen before. So the fact that they have Starfleet Academy in production, the fact that they have Strange New Worlds in production, the fact that they're looking to shop around another season of Prodigy, I think, even though it won't be a Paramount Plus thing. Star Trek ain't going anywhere. And I think there's much more good stuff coming out of Trek these days than I think, I'm not going to say abominations, but just misfires like Section 31. And I guess maybe that's, so do you think that it jumped the shark? You say maybe, but I think another thing that at least Trek to me has a little bit of protection from this, because except for them playing a little bit of the fanfare at the very end of this, the da da da, this is not in any way recognizably Star Trek. It is
No.
not a Star Trek movie. There are no trappings of the Federation. There's not one Delta that shows up. Even the tricorders are dumb cell phones. So
Hmm.
it's just like there is nothing here that has any connective tissue to anything involving Star Trek except for a few notes of a theme song and a couple of legacy characters that are well nigh unrecognizable. So you can very easily excise this from the canon and you're not losing a damn thing.
Hmm.
This is not integral in any way to the longevity of Star Trek.
You mentioned the cell phones. Rennie pointed out, she's like, are they just holding galaxies? I was like, I think so.
Yeah, yeah.
But,
It's
but I
like
guess
that's
if
how
you need
little
a,
they care. That's how little they care to make it look like Star Trek.
I I I agree with everything you're saying. I admire the chutzpah of trying to expand the Star Trek universe by telling a story that's not Star Trek in the Star Trek universe. But I don't think the powers that be that are in charge of what they did here understand the difference between what we as a fan base love about Star Trek and what we don't. And I'm worried that if there's too much more of this, then we're going to lose it for a while.
Well, I mean that's always a danger anyway. As long as there's money coming in, they'll do it. Otherwise, they would have killed. They would not be on season 4 production of Strange New Worlds if they didn't think that it was going to keep drawing eyeballs and somehow lead to some kind of financial gain. That's what it's all about. And I think the Starfleet Academy has yet to be proven, but we'll see what happens with that. The
fact that they pulled Robert Picardo in for Starfleet Academy, I don't know if they're just doing the strategy like they did here, and it's just like pull everything we know that we think is Star Trek, and maybe it'll work, or somebody in charge is actually knows what we like and want to give us what we like.
Well, I mean,
I'm
depends
hopeful.
on showrunners, right? Because the first 2 seasons of Picard were pretty abominable. Even though you had Patrick there giving it his all, and you
I enjoyed it more than most, but that's because Next Gen and Picard.
Yeah, but I mean,
but it should have been what season 3 was the whole time.
Yeah, season 1 of Picard was just objectively bad. It was written all wrong. It was literally a masterclass in what not to do, which is phenomenal to me because Michael Chabon is one of my favorite authors of all time, and he really bed when it came to the first season of Picard. It was horrible. But anyway, but we can survive that. Trek can survive that. I mean, you have the return.
And we survived Disco.
Most iconic characters, right? And it's kind of a misfire, but they got 3 seasons out of that. So, I don't think Star Trek's going anywhere. And I guess those were my final thoughts. I mean, I don't know that I have much more to say about Section 31. How about you?
Final thoughts is I enjoyed it the more I watched it. I'm not mad at it. I'm sad for it. I'm grateful we got it, but damn, what are they doing? That's about it. What's your final rating, sir?
My rating, I'm going to give it I'm going to be generous. I'm going to give it 2. What do they call it when you murder your entire family? Familicide?
Yeah, we'll go with that.
2 familicides out of 10. How about you?
I thought that was boiling oil, and she was just going to like boil their heads in it or something. Anyway.
I guess it's out of 5, but we can go up to
out
10.
of 5.
Yeah.
I'm going to go out of 10 actually, so I can use this rating. I'm going to give it, which was I gave me a chuckle at the end of it. I'm going to give it a Yo Mama 4.
Okay. Wow. Out of 10 though.
So,
not
so
out of 5.
10, out of 10. So it's basically a 2. Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess,
yeah.
right? That's how the math would work.
I think the 2 works better out of 10, quite frankly. 2 out of 5 seems a little generous. 2 out of 5 seems kind of generous. Yeah. So
I like the fact that they tried. Kinda. The direction was good. I think it looked pretty. The costuming was good. The acting was good. Story was too much and not enough at the same time. I'm not the first person to say that, obviously, but that's where I come down on it. But I'm still going to spend the damn $30 on the Blu-ray when it comes out.
All right. Yep. I know you, and I know you will. And I am going to put the kibosh on trivia and Trek and Tell because we've been going for like 9 years.
Yeah,
on this.
The sunspots and the ion storm. Sorry about that. But,
no. It's just it's getting late. So
it is getting late, and it is a school night.
We want all of you out there to tell us what you think of Section 31, the movie. You can tell us
the
right
movie.
on the YouTube channel.
It was not a movie. We agree. Did you call it a movie last night?
No, it was a movie. It was a movie. I'm calling it a movie.
It was a movie.
The movie? I'm going to say I put the question mark because I'm still a little incredulous that it was even done. It's not that I question whether it's a movie. I question why it was a movie. You can comment here on youtube.com/@Treksploration. Go down below, leave all of your comments. You can also go to our Patreon site, patreon.com/Treksploration. Hit us up on the Instagrams @TreksplorationPod. You can also get us on Blue Sky at Treksploration, or is it Treksploration Pod? I'm not sure. Just look up Treksploration on Blue Sky. You can email us, TreksplorationPod@gmail.com. And you can always go that extra mile and send us something in the post office box. That's P.O. Box 542, Bayport, New York, 11705. And just remember, any comments that we receive will likely be read aloud on the show and an upcoming episode of Treksploration. And speaking of upcoming episodes, Albie, what's next for our Treksplorers out there?
I think eventually we're going to get to Star Trek The Next Generation Coming of Age, Season 1, Episode 19. So I know everybody following along at home has watched the episode how many times already, right?
Yeah. I think that we've threatened that episode for 19 weeks, maybe more.
I think this is the Matt Damon got bumped and is in the green room of our show. Coming of Age. Eventually we will do Coming of Age. So the fact that we're doing this midweek gives me hope that at the end of the week we might do Coming of
maybe
Age.
Friday. Maybe we'll do it Friday. So, yeah. And we're also going to be doing our next bonus show, which will be the premiere of Prodigy, Lost and Found. So we'll be talking about Star Trek Prodigy.
First 2 episodes of that. So make sure, listen, Linda, to watch those first 2.
Yep. And I think that catches us up with all of the Trek that's fit to print until I guess Starfleet Academy premieres. So,
which will be cool. All right, so I think that about wraps it up. Any other final thoughts? Anything else? I think good try, A for effort. I enjoyed some things about it. It was kind of fun. It wasn't as bad as I thought it was, but man,
I like your space station way better than Giorgio's space station.
Oh, thank you. Even though it's a mess right now, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
All right, so I guess that's it. So for Treksploration, I'm Albie.
And I'm Chris.
And we'll see you next time.
Later, skaters. Let it flow, that believe in space. Oh, don't you know? Got the jaws on the bridge, it's sight to see. Do a nip it, got us so free. Watch it all night, we're ready for a ride. Check it to the car, side by side. Feel the rhythm as we move to the beat. And my word podcast will give that beat. Is funny. We set the stage. Listen, I'll be blue widows from every age. Captain Charles, get ready to the cosmic tide. Get our militant look. Time to ride.